How's it going, guys? It's James back with the 17th installment of the Football Apex Pod with Elliot.
How's it going?
And today, Bayern Munich beat Mainz 5-2, and to no surprise, Lewandowski with 2 goals on the score sheet. Now, that's the team to watch right now. Like, Bayern Munich are the dynasty in the making,
hmm
and everyone's got their eyes on them. But, Elliot, what do you think they have to do to prove people right? Or what could they do that could change people's perception of them? Like, would winning the treble be the bare minimum, or is that too much to ask?
I think if they go back to back, it will change the narrative a little bit because the Premier League narrative, anything except the Premier League is not high quality, and that's going to be there until something drastic happens. But if you remember when Real Madrid went on their three-peat, nobody was saying La Liga was poor or not a high quality league. Um, because they had just won the Champions League back-to-back years. Now, certain people try to diminish what they had done because of circumstances. Because you can say, oh, Real Madrid during those 3 years, were they the best team in the world through the entire calendar during that time period? Probably not, but that doesn't matter because it's a knockout competition where you have to have that winning intangibles, the other things, and just trying to be the best possible collective team as you want going against these giants and taking them down. Now, Real Madrid took down everybody who stood in the way for that stretch and things like that. But a lot of people tried to take it away, saying they weren't actually the best team in the world, which, in honesty, is probably somewhat accurate because I think Barcelona during those four champions or 3 or 5 Champions League or whatever it was, I think it was 3 and 5 or something like that. They had 4, right? How many?
4 and 5.
4 and 5. Okay, there you go.
4 and 5. I was going to add to that point. I thought that Bayern Munich was the best team 2016, and Man
Yeah,
City probably the best team in 2018, in my opinion.
yeah,
But Real Madrid were victors in the Champions League because they treat that competition very seriously, more seriously than any of those other teams.
yeah. And I
Like
was
I
going to
remember
say,
Man City.
real quick, I was going to
Yeah.
say Barcelona had won the league, I think, in 3 of their 4 champions. I think all of them. I think all 4 years by Barcelona had won the league in domestically, but Real
Except
Madrid.
2017. But
Okay,
yes, you're right.
okay. So all but 1 year they had won the league, or they hadn't won the league in the La Liga. And so there's this whole narrative about about that, and they try to, again, people try to diminish it, but nobody at the time was saying that this is a bad league, or if it's not the appropriate quality of what we're seeing on a regular basis here. And I just think that if they go back to back, they'll get the respect. Will the Bundesliga earn the respect? Probably not, because people will not separate the fact that a league can be good and have the same champion consecutively. You can have the best. You can be the best league in the world and have the same champion 5 years running. But people have a really hard time separating that from quality. So it's like, okay, so one team dominates, that means the league is bad. No. And there's other situations where you look at different aspects. I mean, there's a lot of narratives that go around about everything. Like, Italy has been the defensive league, and people still believe that that's the case. When Atlanta scored 5, Napoli scored 4, and Inter scored 6 just today, in this morning. So there's a lot of narratives that go around it. They will, if they win the Champions League, they'll get more respect. But I don't know if the Bundesliga will regain sort of the reputation that you and me hold it to. But again, I think they'll respect Bayern Munich as a real team. And I don't think they'll do what they do with PSG, where they say PSG's they're in the Farmer League, yada, 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 where Bayern Munich, I think they'll view differently, because anybody who watches football knows how great this team is. Defensively, if they're able to fix some issues there's nothing that can stop this team from winning several on a run. So with all that being said, I think Bayern Munich are the team to beat. And again, we talked about this a little bit ago, but who can take them down? And that's a difficult question, because, again, the thought was PSG because they have the best player in the world. But now they have a new coach, which may change the perspective of how they're going to be able to handle this Champions League situation, where Thomas Tuchel had done well there. He got into a Champions League final. I think his firing was unjustified. And then you look at Liverpool, but Liverpool now are in a title race. They absolutely should not be. They should be It should be over.
Well,
It should have been over. It should have been well over. Then you look at, RB Leipzig is an interesting case, but I don't think they can beat them either. They can challenge them for sure, but over 2 legs, it's going to be difficult. And I just think it's important to realize that the amount of teams that can beat them are very limited. And the team that's most likely to take them down just changed their coach, which I'm not going to say it makes their route easier, but it certainly is going to be something that that goes into their favor, and it makes it slightly lessens the amount of pieces that are required because they have everything, and their bench would make the Champions League quarterfinals. So top to bottom, they're unbelievable. Again, PSG is the only team I really look at. Man City, actually, if they just, and I'm not saying they'll do it, if they say, you know what, screw the Premier League, let's go get the Champions League, I think they could probably do it. So I think probably at this point it's probably Man City or Man City Bayern final potentially, only because I know Pochettino's a good coach, but he's taking this team over mid-season, and Neymar is just recently is going to be coming back soon, but he's injured. It's just a difficult situation to overcome. So again, I think it's inevitable that this team is going to win the Champions League. If they don't, that's great. I don't care if, obviously I'm a fan of greatness and I want to see it, but if they don't win it, it is what it is. But I think it's almost set up for them to run the table again. And you could be even looking at a back-to-back treble, which I'm not sure that's ever happened.
never. It's never happened. And in fact, I think Bayern Munich are they're the second team to win a treble twice, only behind Barcelona in 2015 and 2009.
Yeah.
But now you say when they change their coach that could be something that plays in the favor of Bayern Munich and against PSG. But honestly, do you remember when Zidane came in, how Madrid were, drowning in their own sorrows, and then Zidane comes in and he changes the whole dynamic, and then winning a Champions League, not to mention a 3-peat.
Yeah.
I don't know. This could be good. This isn't just any manager. This is one of the best managers available, and one that a lot of the other top teams were seeking. Some teams even had a manager in place that is a world-class manager, but they were still willing to upgrade to Pochettino, and PSG got their hands on him.
Absolutely. No,
that says a lot about the status of that club.
Yeah.
That says a lot of the status of PSG because they're capable of attracting a manager of that stature, despite no Champions League success and failures in recent years. So there's no real proposal for him to think that PSG will change, except maybe his own hopes and projects.
Right. It was a good hire. Of the available managers, he was the second best available. So they got almost the best they could have. But again, when you look at Real Madrid during that situation, Sergio Ramos had complete control of the dressing room. He's the captain. He's the leader. He has all this stuff. And I'm not saying PSG doesn't have that. But Thiago Silva is not there anymore. He was basically the leader of PSG for the last, I don't know how many years he was there, for a while. And this is a team, and look, the Real Madrid team was incredible with Bale and Ronaldo and Benzema and all this stuff. But this team has personalities like Neymar and Mbappe, and even more than that. And I'm not saying they won't win it, because if you're playing a one-off game, and you have the best player in the world, I completely believe that you can win. You can beat whoever. And in this situation, I think if Bayern play PSG this again, I think Neymar would handle the game differently, because he put so much stake in trying to surround Mbappe with the best chances to win the game for them, because he was being hounded by a lot. He could have just beaten his man and scored a goal, but he wanted to put his team in the best position to score. And I think Neymar felt like if he was just trying to do it himself, the likelihood of them winning the game would have gone down. But he set up Mbappe 3, 4, 5 times, and he failed to deliver each of them. So if they go in that game again, I think Neymar handles it differently. I'm not saying he's going to be selfish. He will spread the ball out, but he'll have that moment where it's like, give me the ball and get out of my way. I think it's there'll be some differences in that, and Poch could figure it out, but I just have slight concern with the personalities. But again, Tuchel never should have been fired. He did a really exceptional job there. And firing a man on Christmas Eve was just cold-blooded. But no, Poch will do a good job. I think there'll be more of a threat to win the whole thing next year than this year because of the change mid-season. Because obviously Zidane did his thing, but I think it's a little different based on the fact that he had Sergio Ramos in sort of control of the dressing room.
And also, I want to touch on another point. You said that Man City will make the final against Bayern if PSG don't find their footing. I don't know. I've just lost all faith in Man City.
I do
In
too.
2019,
But
that team was supposed to do that was supposed to be the final of Liverpool and Man City, which would have eclipsed the Premier League rivalry and take it to another level. Because if they face off in a Champions League final, that rivalry goes down in history as the biggest one in English football. If not behind Arsenal, Manchester United, and obviously Manchester United, Liverpool, which is the biggest rivalry.
Right, exactly. No, I get that.
But why do you?
Because here's the thing: what other options are there? There's PSG going to another final, and again, it's coin flip, but maybe losing to Bayern again. And then you look at who else is going to do it. I love João Felix and Simeone and what he does at Atletico. I don't think Atletico can beat them. I like Liverpool. Salah, Mane, Firmino was incredible. I don't think they can do it. RB Leipzig, there's a lot of good pieces there. I don't think they can do it. So when you look at these teams that potentially can take them down, there's not a lot. So it's basically PSG or Man City. I don't even know if there's a third team that potentially could do it because I don't believe in Dortmund. I've lost all faith in their ability to not choke. And then you look at, I don't know. There's just not a lot. There's not a lot of other teams in this competition.
It's like the usual suspects. They're not firing at all cylinders.
Exactly. And it seems like Juve in the past would have been enticing in this situation, like a team that could do it. But I don't think they have it either. I actually don't think they're beating. I think Porto has a good chance of knocking them out. I'm not saying they will, but if they get away goals, it's going to be really difficult on Juve just to get past them. Then
last year in the round of 16, Juve went out to Lyon, so it's possible.
Then you look at, I don't know, Chelsea's not doing anything. I think they went through, And then, it's just there's not a lot out here to really suggest that we can take you down, and especially in the big countries. Italy, no, Atalanta, as much as I like Atalanta, without Papu Gomez after January, they're not going to have a chance to make any noise against Bayern Munich. I'm running out of names here because there's not going to be a team outside of the big leagues that is going to take them down. I don't think Real Madrid, they got beat to shreds by Shakhtar twice. I don't think they can realistically do that, beat a Bayern Munich team who's much better than Shakhtar. So so there's not a lot of other options. It's really PSG or Man City. And Liverpool would probably argue that they're in it too, but their possibility is less enticing because they're in a title race now and they shouldn't be. If Liverpool are clear and they can focus on the Champions League, then it lands a little different. But it's going to be really hard for any of these teams other than PSG and Man City to realistically do something to Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich seemed to be clear of everyone. PSG, I think, can beat them, and I think Man City can beat them on their day. But the problem is they had their day against Bayern Munich or the first time, and PSG still lost. So I just don't know who takes them down. And I'm talking about now, and I'm talking about the future. And I don't know where all these big players are going to land. But Bayern Munich, to me, is just on another level in comparison to the competition, that one of these teams would need to sign like the biggest possible players available. Because I don't know, it's really hard because their coach is an A, their defense is as bad as their defense can be. It's still no lower than like a B+. Benjamin Pavard can play going forward and go back. Alphonso Davies is probably the best at his position in the world right now. And then you have Alba's gone, probably going to be leaving. But then you have Martinez, and you have Sewell, and then you have Kimmich, who can play there if he wants, but also more as a midfielder. But midfield is great. Their attack is great. Their defense is not great, but it's still a passing grade, and then their coach is amazing. So, I mean, I'm just running out of options of who can take them down.
The goalkeeper.
Yeah, and
He's
it's
at
just
a
like,
renaissance district.
what are you gonna do? Even if Liverpool are able to sign like Awar from Lyon and Pogba, if they had both of those players in the Liverpool team, they still don't beat Bayern Munich, and that's the scary bit. You can sign two of the biggest, maybe not the biggest players, but two of the biggest players are going to hit the market on the same team, and still, and God forbid, if Bayern Munich signs, like, this isn't being talked about that much, but if they're able to get Locatelli from Sassuolo instead of him going to Juve, or, and he might not be the sexiest name. He has been incredible at Sassuolo, and been and pretty consistent since he's left AC Milan. So if you're able to sign something like that, and they could get it done for like 45 million, and Bayern Munich are not afraid of spending that kind of money, and then boom, you got someone like that. I mean, this team is going to add more pieces, and it's going to be really difficult to take them down, which is why my theory is, if you're a team that's in that conversation, or someone who can prove to be in the next couple of years, you need to look at this as a 2-year plan to beat Bayern Munich. Because even if you get your pieces in place, you're not going to win it year one against Bayern Munich. You have to build it over time, because they're going to get better. So you have to kind of level up to where they are right now. And it's, again, I think this is going to be one of the greatest sides we've ever seen, because I think they can really run the table for multiple years in a row. And in these situations, Real Madrid was probably the best team in the world for maybe one of their Champions Leagues. But if Bayern can be as dominant as they are right now and win the Champions League, there'll be no argument that there was someone else who, you know what I mean? Because they're the best team in the world and they won the Champions League last year. So I don't know. I'm just running out of names. You know what I mean?
You do make a great point. My only question to you is, I remember the last time that Bayern Munich looked unbeatable, which was in 2013, when they beat Barcelona 7-0 on aggregate. The next year, they were thumped by Real Madrid 5-0 on aggregate. And that ended the whole dynasty. They didn't even reach the Champions League final until last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was, a 7-year absence. So do you think that there's any possibility of that happening again? Or do you think this time there's no team capable of beating Bayern off of their throne?
At this point right now, there's not a team out there that can beat them. Now, if Neymar is at his best, like Neymar is one of these players that can overpower a great team because of his individual, intangibles and ability and his creativity, and he's just the best player in the world. So if Neymar can have his best day at the office he possibly can, then maybe they can be beaten. But even I like KDB a lot. I don't think he individually can overpower an entire team over Bayern Munich. So I think it's very unlikely. Now, could they lose next year? Yes, I think they could lose next year. This year they're not. This year I'd be. This might sound weird. I think it'd be a bigger shock than Leicester City winning if they don't at least make the final this year. Because to me, top to bottom, they are heads and tails above everybody, and the only thing that can take them down is the best player in the world. So it would be an utter shock of proportions if they don't at least make the final. If they lose a one-off to Neymar, I'm not going to say that was bad, but they got to make the final, or else this is an utter embarrassment because of how good they are.
Makes sense. Now, I like how you mentioned before that Mbappe was set up by Neymar to take those chances and score.
Yeah.
Do you think that if they were to rematch this year, that Neymar would be more selfish? There's no one that can really tell that except Neymar himself. Do you think that was the approach that they were missing last year to take it all home?
Yeah, and I found it really strange that, it's not like social media are football geniuses telling us what the game is, but everyone seemed to believe that Neymar had a bad game. And I was kind of confused with that idea, because he was putting his team in position so many different opportunities and all these other things. And to me, he lost the Champions League. He still was the man of the match in that game. So I think Neymar will Neymar try to put Mbappe in space to make up for last year? He will. But will he do it as frequently? I don't think so, because it didn't work last time. And it didn't work because he failed to convert them. Neymar individually did everything he was supposed to do. He just was too selfless. So I don't think he'll be selfish necessarily, but I think he will keep the ball. He'll take over the game earlier. And I think late in that game, if you notice, once Mbappe's thing wasn't working, the last 10, 15 minutes of that game, Neymar was just saying, screw this. He'll tap into that mentality, I think, a little earlier, because, I mean, as good as PSG is, they're basically going to have to go into the lion's den and cut its head off, and that's what Bayern Munich are right now. They just have so much quality that it's going to take something really special to take them down, and Neymar is just that special. But I don't think he'll be selfish. I think he'll still try to set up teammates, but there'll be a certain point where he says enough of this. I'm not losing this game, and we'll get it done for him. So if they get matched up, I'll take Bayern, but I don't have unreal confidence about that just because Neymar can have a game. But again, Bayern should win the Champions League, and if they get matched up, I think it'll be close. I think this is the one team that can give them everything they got. So if they match up before the final, even if it's the quarterfinals and the PSG loses, I think Bayern Munich essentially win the Champions League then and there, because if you beat PSG, no one else is taking you down, because Man City has the quality to take you down, but there are certain players that are underperforming this season. The defense has been a little erratic as of late. I still think Pep is the best manager in the world, but his team does not have the reputation, or it's sort of like Dortmund, how they choke all the time. Man City does the same thing in Europe, where Mbappe led Monaco, which wasn't a great team necessarily, took them down. And so I don't think Man City can take them down. The only team that can take them down is PSG. And but there's another team that I think could threaten them, but we have to rewind the clock a little bit. I'm talking not last year, but the year before. Atalanta from not last year, but the year before that. So the Atalanta that finished third with not full strength Atalanta when Ilicic and Zapata were playing their best football together. I think that would have been difficult for them because of the size and the strength of those two, and the midfield, and obviously the defense was going to be an issue. But that's a team that maybe could do something. But even if you look back the last couple of years, there's even that Liverpool team that won the Champions League, they wouldn't be able to mess with this team. And they think that they beat them during that campaign, but it was a different Bayern Munich with a whole different situation. So I don't know. It just seems inevitable in my opinion.
So moving on to a team that lost 8-2 to this said Bayern Munich, Barcelona. They sit 6th place in La Liga, and they're playing Huesca currently as we speak. Now, what do you think the future has in hold for them? Because I heard that Lionel Messi is having contract negotiations with Barcelona. Not that he'll be signing an extension, that's for sure. But once he leaves, what do you think Barcelona's immediate decision will be?
It's hard to say.
Because they can't recoup funds for him, so they can't just replace him. They're kind of screwed.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be difficult because you're never going to have a better player. I mean, no one ever is going to see a better player for one, but you're never going to have a player anywhere near that quality. If he goes, most players that would be maybe interested in coming there would be less interested. Neymar's not going back to Barcelona if Messi's not there. I don't think Neymar is leaving, but that's an example there. And then you have other people. Maybe Mbappe would not be even thrilled with going there. If Holland and Dortmund is a situation where Holland is playing exceptional football, but Dortmund is underwhelming, then maybe he'll think about stepping into that shadow, I guess. But I don't know. I think we're gonna start to see Barcelona kind of figure out that with what's happening and what happened with AC Milan is they hit the glory year, and then there was collapse, and they were quite poor for a couple of years. So I think Messi departing is going to be what AC Milan was before they got it back together.
Makes sense. Well, that's beating a dead horse. Barcelona are a team that have no real future. Real Madrid, I mean, even, I'm not trying to be biased here, but at least they have shown signs that they can still compete for titles, unlike Barcelona.
Mhm.
And so,
But Barcelona can pitch. They're probably not smart enough to do it, but they can pitch Holland that this is the weakest La Liga we have seen in compared to previous seasons, or it's not as strong as it has been in past years. Not to say it doesn't have quality in it, but they can pitch Holland that you're more likely to win here. The German
that's the
football
problem. Though.
German
The problem
football
is,
is trending upwards, and La Liga and the Premier League to a certain extent is trending a little bit down, a little bit. I'm not saying they're bad leagues, but it's like this. If you get in the room with Holland, you're going to say, "Oh, this is a great team," but Messi just left. So your argument for why he should play is you kind of back yourself in a corner. So you kind of have to go rogue in the sense of saying, look, Erling Haaland, you're one of the best strikers in the world. You are one of the best youngsters. You're a generational talent. You've been able to do incredible things at Dortmund and before that and your entire career. But Dortmund's not working out for you. I understand that we're not as good as Dortmund, or we're not that much better at this point, or however it is. But you can say, you know what, this La Liga is a weaker La Liga than in past years. So the opportunity for you to come here and win a La Liga title is higher than it would have been in the era with Ronaldo and Messi fighting. You're still gonna have that Brad brother up there in Atletico. He's gonna be a problem. He's still gonna be there trying to knock you off your step. But the rest of the league, and Real Madrid is always gonna be involved because they're Real Madrid. But the rest of the league is not as strong as it used to be. So the opportunity of you coming here and winning a title in Spain with Barca is higher than it would have been in the past. So if you make this move, you can actually win a trophy here. Where if he's negotiating with somebody else, they cannot guarantee he's going to be able to go and win a trophy unless he goes to Bayern Munich, which I hope never happens because that would just be totally unfair. But
that's a nightmare scenario, by the way, because you're just rejuvenating the best team in the world with the best striker in
it
the
would
future.
be like, let me put it this way.
Put Ronaldo at prime Barcelona. I don't see it any other way.
It would be like this. It would be like the Golden State Warriors adding LeBron on top of Kevin Durant. So they have their Hall of Fame team, then they add Kevin Durant, and then they add LeBron. That's what it would be like. And just because Holland is I don't know if he's a top 10 player right now, but he's going in that direction. Then Lewandowski is probably the third best player in the world behind Neymar and Muller, or whoever you want to do it. But he's a top 5 player in the world. You'd have a top 5 and a top 8 player in the world at the same time. Both, they wouldn't score as much, maybe, but it would just be totally. It'd be like playing with a cheat code.
And I like they bring on Holland because he's the ultimate sign of patience because he went to Manchester United. Yeah. Yes, they're in a title race right now, but it would have been just a very detrimental thing for his career because it would have slowed him down because he would have had the pressure to live up to that English hype. He was actually born in Leeds. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know that. And so his dream is always to come to the Premier League, but he was patient about it. He didn't just jump at the opportunity immediately. Yeah. And once that time comes, I don't think he's going to join. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I still think that Manchester United is a destination for him because he does have those ambitions to
eventually, not like next year.
Not even in the next few years.
I think he took a plunge when he went to Dortmund. He's going to give them the benefit of the doubt for a couple of years. He has to, because Sancho's going to be sold probably. Then you're gonna have some other pieces come in for him, and you're gonna get some money. Reina seems to be scoring every game, so he's gonna get a whole lot better. They're never signing. They're never gonna sell Reina, at least in the next couple of years. So you have, for sure, you have Reina, you have Holland, and then you have that 16-year-old kid.
Muyuku or something like that. I believe. I'll Google it for you.
So you have enough in there to suggest, okay, I have to at least give this a try. If I win with Dortmund, while Bayern Munich is operating at the same time, it would do so much for his legacy and just how he's perceived. But maybe after that point, or if it fails or something, then Man United might be the spot for him. Especially, I know Bruno Fernandes is he's late 20s, right? If I'm not mistaken. but again, maybe he would.
Actually,
Holland
Bruno
would be.
Fernandez is mid-20s.
Yeah. So I think he'll still be in his prime, and he'll be. So even if he does the Dortmund thing and it fails, he'll have some time to do that and then go to Man United later. While Bruno is still there. Um, yeah, it will be interesting. I think he'll go to the Premier League and. See, this is the thing with this, because I always say this: the best leagues in the world, are not the best leagues in the world forever. Just because you were
Right.
once the best league in the world doesn't make it now.
Mm-hmm.
In the '90s, it was mostly Italy.
Mm-hmm.
In the early 2000s, it was probably
Still Italy.
What's that?
I mean, in the early 2000s, it was still pretty much Italy. I know that Real
Yeah.
Madrid won the Champions League twice in the early
Yeah,
2000s, but Italy was in.
Italy had that crown a little longer than they should have, because usually it's like a 5-year thing and then they're no longer. So let's say Italy '90s, basically the entire '90s and midway through 2000s, 2005 and upwards. I think the Premier League had it, and then for a short time they didn't have it, and then it went back to Spain for maybe a 3 to 4 year stretch, and then it was back in the Premier League, and then it became. Then it went from the Premier League now to now it's to Germany. But the Premier League can get it back because a signing like Holland would make it a better league. Now it depends on the teams around him, because Man United getting Holland would force Chelsea and Man City and Arsenal and all these other teams and Liverpool to go and get a threatening signing as well, which will make the league better. Because the more quality that's in the league it's better. But yeah, so if he goes to the Premier League, it'll totally change how it'll totally change how the quality in the league. Because I think there'll be a panic thing where Man United's just like Holland, we got to do something, we got to act quick. Let's see if Lukaku's available. Let's see if I don't know, Neymar is available. Let's see if we can get Mbappe. So there'll be actions that follow when or if Holland makes that move. But I think you're right in saying that Man United probably will sign him at some point. But I think he has to give Dortmund a shot because there's enough talent there to do it. So I think he's there for at least another 2 years.
And there's a lot of topics I want to cover here. I think I'm going to keep it simple here. We talked about on the other podcast a possible renaissance of Serie A as a result of it shifting a champion. Meaning, if Juventus don't win it this year, which I don't think they will, and AC Milan will win the league, that'll be like a change of dynamic in that league, which will rile things up, and it could bring more powerhouses to European competition. Because in years past, it was literally just Juventus. And even Juventus were in doubt, especially in 2018 when they played Tottenham in the round of 16. The narrative there was actually that Tottenham were better than Juventus. That was the narrative throughout both legs. But if you now have possible contenders of different teams like AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus resurging, not just as nostalgic early 2000s teams, but now with young players like Lautaro Martinez and Inter, and Gigi Donnarumma at AC Milan, yeah. And not to mention, Juventus have young players too. It's just that they are focused around the marketing of Cristiano Ronaldo, which they need to make the most of while they still have him. Now in their third and possibly, in my opinion, final season of him. Do you think that AC Milan winning the title is the step in the right direction for bringing Serie A up from its stigmatized farmer league reputation?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It doesn't even need to be AC Milan. It can be anybody. As long as it's a bigger team. So if either Milan's win it, if Roma wins it, if Napoli win it, they all will bring the reputation back. Sassuolo can't win it. I don't think they will, but it seemed like that can't, because then people will make the argument, it's just because it's a weak Serie A, which is not necessarily the case, because when Leicester won the league, it was an amazing story and all that, but the league around Leicester at that time was not. It was still the best league in the world, but it still wasn't as strong as it had been in the past. I think they won the league with 77 points.
Yeah, something low like that.
Last year, Roma had 77 points or something around there and finished fifth. So, I don't think I think Sassuolo, they'll use that as ammo if that would happen. But I think any of the Milan, from a pure, argumentative perspective about marketing, it's best if AC Milan or Inter win it. Either one. With Milan, you have those Zlatan Ibrahimovic, you have the years of the past, you have Maldini as a director, everything's going well there. And then with Inter, you have, love him or hate him, Antonio Conte is an interesting character. You have Lukaku, Martinez, and half of Manchester United's team from a couple of years ago with Ashley Young and others, and Alexis Sanchez, and all these guys who, at the end were not viewed as important for the Premier League and stuff like that. And then you have Roma. Roma is is one of the biggest and most iconic cities in the world. They had Totti and De Rossi, two of the greatest icons, and not just football, in Italian culture. When people think of loyalty in football, most people think of Totti. Not because others weren't loyal, because he left trophies on the table just to play for his hometown club. So I think there's a lot of respect for Roma by all walks of life, other than maybe Lazio fans. And even they, I think, to a certain extent, respect Totti and De Rossi and some of the players that they've had. So either one of those three teams, and obviously Napoli, Diego Maradona passing, the narrative about this is their last dance. This is their opportunity to get back to winning. And you have Lorenzo Insigne, someone who's been there forever, who's been a childhood mentor of Maradona, was one of his favorite players growing up, and he has a tattoo of Maradona. And then you have Mertens, who went from just a little kid in the Belgium league to one of their Napoli's highest ever goal scorer. Then you have, from an American perspective, you have North American perspective, you have Lozano, who was a really young Mexican kid who's kind of turning it on this year. And then you have so many different characters in all these teams. And so if any of those teams win it outside of Juventus, I think people will start to respect what's actually going on. Because people who don't watch it are saying it's a former league without watching it. And I think that's kind of the dumbest thing in the world. If I'm gonna rag on the Premier League or La Liga, I'm gonna watch it, because then I can't. It's gonna make me look like a tool if I'm not watching games. I'm just saying it for the sake of it. So I think one of these three teams winning the league, or one of these four teams winning the league, as long as it's not Juventus and it's a team with history, I think the league will come back on its feet a little bit.
For sure. But it's not the only league that's resurging. No,
of course not.
Honestly, man, I thought the Bundesliga resurgence was overdue, but the problem with me is, like, I remember when Real Madrid lost 4-1 to Borussia Dortmund, the proposition of two teams meeting in the final that were equally potent was ridiculous, because it just went to show how powerful their league was becoming. But that died off in 1 year. With the Bundesliga, it's just like a sole giant. It's like a three-headed monster in Bayern Munich, but then no one else in their vicinity. That's the problem. Like, they're the best team in the world, but their league is not.
Yeah, just give me a second. So that's the problem. But Bayern Munich wins 9 straight in every league. People act like, or maybe not 9, they win at least. They win at least 5 of these things. So it's not like, Bayern Munich is so overly dominant that the league is bad. That's why they're winning all these titles. If they went to other big leagues, they would win almost at the same rate. So I think the problem is people believe that the league is bad. That's why Bayern Munich is so successful. And I think that's not accurate. I think they're so successful because they're the best team on the planet, and they have been a top 3 team in the world basically every single year of the last decade.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, but what if the Premier League only had one good team? Do you think that people would still say, for example, Liverpool in that case, they're the only team in their league that has been contending for the Champions League, bar Spurs, who never really were contenders for the whole European competition.
And they got lucky against Ajax too. So
yeah, why do you think that Bayern takes all the stick for being a farmers' league? Like, don't get me wrong, no one ever says that Bayern won't destroy their team. But then why on earth are people stigmatizing the Bundesliga when Bayern are the best team? It's like, if Bayern can beat any team and they can beat their own league, why is it stigmatized as a bad league? Like, what do you think?
Again, it's one of these things. This media, English media, it's so important. Like, look, I'm a Serie A fan. I have no reservations in saying the Bundesliga is better. German football is better than Italian football. It just is. I can't sit up here and act like it's not. It is. But the problem with the English media, at least I know some people Jack is not someone who is associated with this, and there's others that we know that don't view it that way. But collectively, as the English media, for some reason, it's so important to them that their league is number one. It's so important to them, and it's like they're so obsessed with the fact that nothing's like English football when West Ham and Leicester City are in European races, for example. And all due respect to West Ham and Leicester City, but in some of these other leagues, they would not even have a shot in hell at making a Champions League, Europa League spot. But
Yeah.
so I think it's the media, it's the way it's projected. And it's important to them that they're the best league in the world. And if you're not an English, if you're their incredible, insane logic is if you're not an English footballer, if you're not playing in this league, then all the other leagues are garbage. That's how they look at it, and it's really misplaced. So again, it's just one of these things. But maybe it's the new generation. Maybe it's I don't know why anybody would be obsessed with the fact that their league is not the best. I'm fine with saying that that's not the best, because the truth is Italy is not. It's I think it's in the ballpark of Germany, but Germany is still clear of Italy at this moment. I do think when Germany isn't anymore, Italy will be next up, and Italy will be the next team, the next league to overtake top spot. But they're not there yet, and I think the issue is I think people just think the media feeds the story that if you're not in the Premier League, it's not a good league and that sort of thing, and it's just not accurate. And this is another thing I struggle with. When I suggest that a Premier League player that's struggling should maybe go overseas or go abroad and try to prove themselves in another top league, they take offense to it as if I'm saying that a player that just because there's a player that's struggling, that going to a different country is not going to help them progress. When there's countless examples of this. To be honest, I didn't mean to go into this, but Dele Alli should leave Spurs for a Bundesliga team or an Italian team. He's not doing well. Mourinho is not that high on him. We all appreciate his talent, but he hasn't really shown his ability since maybe his second season at Spurs. So his best bet is to leave England to go somewhere else. And I don't understand why nobody in England does it. But Spurs should explore the possibility of letting him go somewhere else, at least temporarily. And that somewhere else should not be England, because you become better players when you're experiencing different leagues and atmospheres. So when Chris Smalling went to Italy, he became better, not because Italy is a worse league, but because the style of football is different. So there's players who go to Germany and other countries who become much more refined players. And so it's a lot, but again, it comes down to the media, and they feed us that all the leagues other than the Premier League are bad, and the Premier League could be statistically the worst in the league, and they would still claim that they're the best league in the world. But again, when you have West Ham and Leicester City in potentially in distance of making the Champions League, the quality of your league isn't where it needs to be, and at least that's the way I view it.
I agree, and we all have our own opinions, because there are people out there that will think the Premier League's the best league in the world by far, because there's many teams contending. Manchester United got knocked out by Leipzig. Sorry to cut you off. Manchester United didn't just get knocked out by Leipzig. They lost to a Turkish team. They were scoring penalties against PSG. Overall, not hating on a team like Manchester United. They're historically one of the best of all time, but they would get destroyed in any other league, and yet they're top of the Premier League. That's what blows my mind.
Yeah, in Italy, I think. Let me think about this. So the teams that would finish in front of them in no particular order would be both Milan teams, Napoli, Roma. Let's see. I think maybe fifth or sixth in Italy. In Germany, you have Leverkusen, you have RB Leipzig, you have Bayern, you have Gladbach, you have So Man United probably finishes fifth or sixth in all these different leagues. And I understand you can maybe argue that Bruno Fernandes may be the best midfielder over some of these teams I'm mentioning, but the collective teams that Italy and Germany have, they would not finish in the same space. But I don't take it against anybody if they think that England is the best league in the world. Just like most of my friends don't take it personally when I think it's not. You know what I mean? A lot of these teams, especially look in Europe, if you're just talking about like the West Hams and the Leicester Cities and the Newcastles and teams that are within distance of making a European spot, in Italy and Germany, they would finish mid-table. I think Verona would finish ahead of both Leicester and West Ham. Maybe Leicester finishes in front of them just because they have Jamie Vardy. But there's some teams that aren't getting any credit in Italy and Germany and places like that. Like Union Berlin would still finish ahead of most Premier League teams this season. A team like Verona and Sassuolo would finish ahead of most Premier League teams this season. So there's a lot of different things, but it's just like the league's not as strong as it was, and it's still a strong league. I don't want to make it sound like it's trash. It's excellent, but it's just in comparison to everything. So when they talk about Aston Villa and West Ham being, breaking out, there's so many other examples that are more concrete to this current season than they are, and so the arguments kind of are null and void. But again, it's a good league, but again, I just don't think it's at the standard that the Premier League deserves to have a better league right now, but they just don't. And I think sometimes you just have to accept it. When Italy was going through the down period, I never once said they were the best league in the world. I was on the Premier League bandwagon the entire time. But when they got better, I adjusted my opinion. But so it's just like if you're not one of those top two leagues, you can. I think you have to be real about it. Like, yes, I love my Premier League. My team plays in the Premier League, but it's not the best league in the world. Ryan is an Arsenal fan till the death of him. He does not think. At one point last year, he thought the Premier League was the fourth best league in the world. Now, I've never gone below 3 since they've been exposed a little bit over the last couple of years. But he's someone who loves the Premier League and still recognizes that there are leagues that are better than the league that his team plays in. So there's so many other ways I can go about this, but it's just like, I mean, data is data. You can't pretend it's not there. You know what I mean?
It's just, honestly, my gauge on the best league in the world is the nostalgia and the feel you get when you watch it. Will I watch Saint Etienne against Toulouse and get the same feeling as Newcastle against Watford? I don't even know. I don't think they're still in the Premier League, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Those two terrible. Okay, Aston Villa against Newcastle.
Yeah.
Right. That kind of game gets me more riled up than any teams in other leagues of the same variant, same league position, same stigma, same like histrionics. It's just the Premier League gives you a different vibe. I don't know. I don't know how they do it. They must be in the water. They say.
Energy, I would say, than us. And I get that because, I mean, Aston Villa, I'd love to watch Aston Villa. They're a good club with a lot of history, starting doing well. I'm happy to see it. And I think, but at the same time, that level of game is intriguing. But, I mean, but then you put Union Berlin against, like, Frankfurt was one of the best games I saw this season. And that league is incredible too, and then there's teams in Italy. But no, I get what you're saying. I think it just depends on what your criteria is for great league. Anyway,
and don't let nostalgia ever like dictate the now. You know, yeah. I loved watching Milan. Let's say in 2009, 2010, even though they got thrashed by Manchester United.
Yeah.
Would I ever say that they were better than Manchester United at the time? No. Do I think that because of the Champions League that they've won, that they are better than Manchester United? Well, just in my case, because I love Milan, yes. But I mean, nowadays,
this might be a hot take. I think they're a bigger club than Manchester United, but at that time, there's no argument that they were a better team.
Right, because like at that time in 2008, there was no club bigger than Manchester United. There's not a single club.
Yeah.
The following year, the things change, and they changed for a while. Because Barcelona were the best team from 2009, 2012. Yeah. Even when Real Madrid won the league. Even when Chelsea won the Champions League. Even when
they were the best team in the league from Pep's Barca to Enrique's Barca.
Exactly.
With a quick drop of who would have been in between those two?
Madrid in 2014 were the best team by far,
Yeah, that's fair.
but only then. Only then. In 2013, Bayern Munich, yeah. It was Barcelona from 2009 to 2013 when Bayern Munich and Real Madrid eclipsed them. And then Barcelona, did they bounce back? They beat every league champion on road to the final, every single league champion. And they themselves were the league Atletico Madrid were the league champions, which Real Madrid beat, which Juventus beat, which Barcelona beat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, if anything, just on a personal note, like when a team is great, you can't hate them for too long because you start to realize you must hate football if you hate the greatest football team. Doesn't that make sense? It's like
we
capture the essence of beautiful football.
It's the same thing within the States with the Patriots and Tom Brady. Not the most likable human, maybe not the most likable team, but if you love greatness, you want to see the dynasty go as far as it can. Same with the basketball, same with football, same with everything. So you always want to see greatness at its highest level. I wouldn't cheer for two non-great teams to make a final.
Exactly. Like, but then again, would you rather watch a boring variant of a great team or a very exciting variant of a small team? For example, Ajax are a great team and they had beautiful football. Mm-hmm. But at the time, in 2019, they were not, like, historically, yes, biggest teams in the world, but if you saw a kid with an Ajax jersey, you'd be like, oh, what's that? Versus a Manchester City, Real Madrid, Barcelona. None of those teams were in the final.
Yeah.
But you see in a jersey like that, you'd be like, okay, makes sense. They like beautiful football. With smaller teams that play attractive football, even Monaco of 2017, like, would you rather see one of those teams in the final or a big team like Bayern Munich, even if they weren't up to firing on all cylinders?
That's a hard one. If it's Ajax, I'm picking. You know how much I love that club. So,
because of Cruyff, of course.
Yeah, not just because of Cruyff, but yes, largely.
Yes. Let's be honest.
I'm looking at my wall here, and I have an Ajax flag just right above my desk. So I think in the year that Ajax could have went to the final against it was either Liverpool, Barcelona. I wanted Barcelona and Ajax for specific reasons. But the thing is, Ajax is a massive club. And even if they're not playing well at the moment or they haven't won the Champions League in a long time, they're a massive club. Historically speaking, they're in the top 5. And I think people don't realize how big they actually are. And I understand where they play, but yeah, they're definitely a team. But in a normal sense, would I rather see Club Brugge make a Champions League final or Real Madrid? I would rather see Real Madrid make a Champions League final. Even though
it's the greatest Club Brugge you've ever seen.
I mean, it's still, it's just, to me, football is about storylines. What provides the best storyline? So in 20, whatever it was, when Liverpool won the Champions League final, I won Barcelona and Ajax. Why? Because Cruyff was basically the as a player, total football at Ajax, and then he was as a manager, he revolutionized Barcelona. So that's an interesting storyline. Last year, I wanted Bayern Munich and I wanted Atalanta. Why? Bayern Munich were one of the best attacking teams in the league, have all these great players. Atalanta and Bayern Munich's defense is okay, but not great. Atalanta had 2 strikers that make, I think, in terms of, I'm not saying they're better than everybody else, but from a defensive matchup perspective, I think it would be incredibly difficult to match up Ilicic and Zapata together.
Not to mention, Atalanta had 118 goals in the league. They were the top scoring team in all of Europe.
What I'm saying, and they were top 3 scorer in Europe. And I just wanted to see Atalanta and Bayern. That's more interesting to me than Bayern and PSG. As much as I love Neymar and stuff, they're 2 massive teams who will hold a boatload of money. So then you can go back, even further. You can look at the Bayern Munich Dortmund storyline was incredible because Götze was about to sign for Bayern. Bayern Munich, I think Lewandowski ended up signing for them a year later, and there were 2 teams. Dortmund had won the league. Bayern Munich didn't win the league. It was Klopp and it was Heimkes, and it was a battle of everyone. You had Robin on one side, then you had Robin, Mandzukic was there at the time too, and then on the other side you had Lewandowski, you had Götze, you had so many different pieces, and so to me, I care about storylines more than the size of the club. If Club Brugge and Leicester City are the best storylines, like Leicester's former manager plays to Club Brugge and gets sacked, and then wins the double, and then goes to the Champions League final against the Leicester City team that just signed an incredible player from Germany. Then maybe that. I mean, again, it just depends on the storyline of the final. I want to see great football, but I also want to see the storylines that are attached to it, because that's what makes football great. Not this team beat this team, but all the storylines that are attached to each game.
Fair. And let's end on your favorite note. The Roma game that was ongoing while we started this podcast ended, I believe,
1-0.
1-0 to Roma. Who scored? Who do you think?
Dzeko. It was beautiful.
Of course.
It was. The thing is, this is the important thing. Like, Roma not next week, but the week after, have Inter on the 10th and then Lazio on the 15th. How Roma perform in those two games is going to define the entire season, because only games we've dropped are against good team or like really good teams. So it's important that Roma take care of business today, and then they beat Crotone in a couple at the end of the week or whatever. But I think that it was important. It was a very uncomfortable game. It was wet. It was like really rainy. Roma had so many chances in this game. If there's no wetness on the ground, Roma probably score more than that. But late in the game, 10, 15 minutes to the end, you just felt like it was coming. And I didn't know who was going to come, because we hit the bar. Smalling hit the bar with about 15, 20 minutes left. And then Karsdorp came quick on the side. And Sampdoria did a good job. Sampdoria is never an easy team to play. And they, for the most part, they kept positioning, which was a key reason why they were able to keep in the game. And they had some chances. Defensively, we did well on them and all that stuff. But then beautiful ball from Karsdorp comes in. Dzeko lifts the ball while being basically surrounded by a defender, and lifts it into the top corner. Roma win the game. And again, winning it's not – I'm not saying Roma have winning intangibles, but teams that win tough games like that. And we're still in third place. We still have a lot to –
I was going to say that. You guys are the dark horse in this title race.
Yeah.
Because you guys had a rough start to the season. I don't know who you lost 4-0 to. Napoli. That was who.
Yeah.
And it seemed all over. What was it, 6 games into the season? But now you bounced back. And if anything, you're the team that no one's looking at. I guarantee you guys are not in the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that will actually work in your favor. If you can balance, maybe even not contending for the Europa League, but just pushing for the league. These are two teams that don't have winning intangibles set. They only have potential to be champions.
Yeah.
Roma, on the other hand, they've been in title races before in recent years too. You can't say that Inter were really in the title race last year. You know,
they were. Bala did them twice, and then it was over. They were kind of in Rome. I mean, it was mostly between Lazio and. But again, if you look at the game, so Roma lost to Napoli, Atalanta, 2 big games, and then they and the third loss wasn't really a loss. It was basically a point against what do you call it? Verona. It was credited as a loss because of some technical issue. We drew with Milan. At the time, we were the only team to take points off Milan. We drew with Juve when we outplayed them. And then we drew Sassuolo in a game where we had a goal incorrectly ruled off. So of the games we have played, lost, and the games that we have tied, we haven't dropped a single point to a small team. So the only teams that are taking points off Roma are teams that are in the top 6 to 8. So like Torino, Sampdoria, teams that typically in the past Roma would struggle with, they're beating. Cagliari, a team that Roma lost to a few years ago, we beat them. Bologna, a team that came to the Olimpico last year and ripped Roma apart, we beat them 5-1 and scored all 5 goals inside of 45 minutes. So, yeah, I'm not going to the point where we're in the title race yet, but if we beat Inter on the 10th, and they're unbeaten their last 8. If they win, if they beat Sampdoria, they'll be unbeaten their last 9. If we play Inter and we beat them, and then we go, Lazio's not a good team, but then we go to Lazio and convincingly beat them, it changes the entire complexion because I think most people who are paying attention understand that Roma is a Champions League team without question. But the question is, can they get in the title race? And if they can beat Inter and Lazio in back-to-back games, and then I believe Napoli is after that. Oh no, that's a women's game. My bad. Sorry, I have Roma versus Napoli on my calendar, but it's the women's Roma Napoli. But they have those 2 games, and then they have a bunch of winnable games to end the month, and then they have Verona. So if they go into this month, they beat Inter, they beat Lazio, they beat Verona, they win out the rest of the month. I mean, seriously, they have a chance to win something this season, and they could very well be in the title race by the end. And if Inter loses and momentum hits them, and then they fall apart and they drop some games, Roma could end up being the team that's going to push AC Milan more than anything. And this is the thing we've talked about in the past. What happens when Milan loses the first game? How are they going to react?
That's what I'm scared about.
And I'm not saying Roma are immune to being poorly reacted, but every time we lost, we've gone on a winning streak. And the reason is, and it's not about the quality of the team. We have Dzeko, somebody who was the first player in history to have 50-plus goals in 3 of the top 5 leagues, who has won titles in Germany and England, hasn't won anything in Italy yet, but hopefully this year that changes it. We have Pedro. He has won everything. He won with Chelsea, and he was on the greatest Barcelona team of all time. He's won the World Cup and the Euros with Spain, as you know. Then we have players like Mkhitaryan, who thrived in the Bundesliga, I think he won something in Germany, and then after that, he ended up playing with Man United, won the Europa League, and probably was the best player in that tournament. So then you look down, it's Chris Smalling. He has like 4 or 5 different trophies in different categories, and then he's won multiple Premier. Like, we have a lot of players who've been there and done that, and then we have the young guys together. Do we need to add some stuff? We absolutely do, but if again. The 10th and the 15th are going to define the entire season. If Roma can beat that, people will have to beat them. They'll have to start taking this seriously, because I just think this team has what it takes. Now, I don't think they'll win it this year. Next year, if they add just one piece, they'll be one of the favorites, and that's my prediction. So I think this year they make the Champions League. Next year they're in the title race, and then maybe the year after we win the whole thing. But I would say this: I'm looking at the Coppa Italia as very, very winnable if things go our way, the Europa League. So I think they can win the Europa League or the Coppa Italia, and I also think they can win the Coppa Italia and the Europa League. So I think I think there's a 60% chance that Roma wins something this season, and that's all that needs to happen. Dzeko's done so many great things for the club, and I know this is more of a team thing. If he just wins one thing with Roma, it will justify his entire Roma career. That it wasn't all for nothing.
Is Dzeko not the Dirk Nowitzki of football? Like, wouldn't it be like staying for a team, not for his whole career, but like, I just think all he needs is a trophy, man. That's all he needs.
Just one. Like, I'm as willing. I'd go as far to say is, when we get the new stadium, which I don't know when that would be, we need a statue for Darassi and Totti for sure. Maybe some others from the championship team. If Dzeko wins one thing, I don't care what it is. It has to be a Coppa Italia League or Europe. But if he just wins the Coppa Italia and that's it, that's enough. Like, Dzeko's in this place with Roma, and people probably disagree with me, but in Roma's world, where he is a top 10 player all time, if he wins something, he shoots up that list really quickly. He is the third most goals in club history. He's been there for, I think this is his 6th season, so he's been at Roma longer than he's been at any other club. he has a golden boot on his resume. He has been a top 20 goal scorer, I think, twice and almost 3 times with the 19 he had last year. And he is Roma's all-time leading goal scorer in the Europa League and the Champions League. And he was captain. I mean, his resume is greatness and it's legacy, and it's give me a statue. But he needs to win something before that happens. If he just wins one thing, it justifies everything he's ever done, because Dzeko has been. He stayed. He could have gone to Chelsea and Juventus and others, and he stayed here. And I think it's really important to him to win something, and I'm hopeful that they can do it this year. This was a weird year in Serie A. Maybe he wins the whole. Maybe Roma will win the league. Like, I don't think they will, but I mean, it's hard to say whether or not they will or not. But I think it's unlikely. But in this season, considering all the changes and all the stuff going on, it's not impossible. I think it's unlikely, but never say never.
With that, Elliot, I think that's the perfect way to end it all. Never say never, especially with Roma in this title race. But hey, if Milan win it, I'm sorry, man.
I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not looking for this season. I'm looking to make the Champions League. Next season, I'm looking to win it. So I'm not looking to win it this year. I'm looking for Zlatan to win his title, go away, and then we'll beat them. And it'll be great for the whole league if Milan wins. And of course, I want to win the league, but if we could just win one trophy this year, I'd be happy with it, because I've been waiting far too long for us to just win anything. So if Roma win anything, I'll be happy. And but this team will be a feature in the title race for years to come. And I think they built this team the right way. Juventus are going in the wrong direction. Inter are going in the right direction, but they're an older team, so it's not gonna be sustainable for long. Milan are starting to go in the right direction, and Roma are going in the right direction. So who knows? Maybe in the next 10 years, it's going to be Roma and Milan fighting for titles, which I think would be very fun and exciting.
For sure. But Elliot, this is one of the most fun iterations of the Football Apex podcast.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to catch you guys next Saturday. So stay tuned in. Let me turn this light on real quick. Oh my God. Stay tuned, and make sure to stay tuned for the Football Apex podcast next week, same time, every single week. Catch you guys later.